Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. Blackberries are tasty. Last year we planted some and we're going to do a checkup and see how they are doing. Also, it's time to prune figs. Today we'll show you how. That's just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by Goodwin's Landscape and Garden Center in Germantown since 1943 and continuing to offer its plants for successful gardening with 7 greenhouses and 3 acres of plants, plus comprehensive landscape services. International Paper Foundation, the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Mr. D. And Bill Calvert will be joining us later to show us how to prune figs. All right, Mr. D, here are blackberries.
Okay.
What do you think about them?
I think we, a little good and a little bad. This is the good, the bad, the ugly.
Okay.
It looks like we were about 50% successful in getting the blackberry planting started here. This one is doing fine. We even have, if you go down here to the root system, we've got another one coming up from the roots, which is what these blackberries will do.
Okay.
They'll very quickly become a hedge and they'll be hard to contain when they really start doing well. We've rapidly reached the point, or rapidly reaching the point where we need to go ahead and set a trellis system up of some kind, because it's outgrown its fishing pole.
Yeah,
the little
support.
cane, it's kind of outgrown that. And these runners, we're going to fertilize, apply some fertilizer today, and the healthy plants are going to start growing pretty quickly now. On the other hand, I'm not real sure what happened here. I think we think there may have been some herbicide injury. Maybe in the fall it may have gotten inadvertently sprayed with some herbicide. We're not sure. I'm going to start cutting into this to try to determine whether or not there's any life left. And if I can't find any, I'm going to cut down to the point where I find life. If I don't find life, I'll cut all the way to the ground. Now, we probably ought to just leave this area because the roots might be still alive and they may send a shoot up, but I doubt very seriously, if we don't find any light here or any life in the stem, then I think the roots probably did too. So let's go ahead and start doing that on this one. Let's check it out to try to determine. I mean, we had a leaf formed here, which tells me it's got some life there.
It's got some life in it.
It's got some life there. So we're going to give this one a little bit of time. I'm going to go ahead and take out the dead tissue that I know is dead. Let me check this out over here too, see if there's. Yeah. Okay. So maybe this will come on out. Let's give it a little chance. I know this is dead tissue. So let me ease on over here. This is dead. This one is dead. And I'm going to have to cut it in several pieces to get it away from our bands.
It's good to know there's some life in it, though.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. But that's why you don't rush to judgment on these things.
This is true.
See, I think we're going to. You can see all of the cuts I've made. This is how brown this tissue is, so I know this is dead. So we're basically left with one stem, some possible light left in it. I'm gonna go and get these a little closer to the stem. And we'll give this a little bit more time. We will go ahead and apply some fertilizer to this.
Yeah, they got life in there.
If this goes ahead and dies, I would say it's freeze injury, because it leaved out.
Okay. Yeah, it did. That's right.
I mean, this leaf, it leaved out, and that's this year's leaf, I think. Especially if you compare it to the size of these.
Right. It's close to the same size.
So let's just ease on over here and let's do kind of the same thing here. I'm going to cut the dead branches out. You got to be careful when you do this, because if you accidentally cut the wrong one, you've really
That's
messed
it,
up.
right?
You really messed up.
I think you might have done this a time or two anyway, right?
And I've messed up a time or two.
Aha.
Doing a pruning demonstration one
Oh, no.
time, and I cut the wrong cane on a muscadine. It was about 20 feet long, and trimming, and I cut the wrong one.
Did you realize it when you cut it?
Very quickly afterwards.
Okay.
Very quickly afterwards. Just taking the dead wood off. Now, if this were an older plant and these were in your way, this is the time to head back.
Okay.
Maybe take off a third of the growth. But we're not going to do that
Right.
with this one. We're going to just kind of let it.
Yeah, the
Let it
leaves look
go.
good on that one too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they look good. And this little fella right here
Yeah.
will be blowing and going shortly.
Okay.
Okay. And now, really, according to general rule of thumb, if you've got everything pretty much medium, which we think we do here,
Okay.
about 5.5 pounds of 888 per 100 foot of row.
Okay.
And we have 1313,
Mm-hmm.
which is, not quite half,
Not quite.
or almost twice as strong. If you have 15, pretty much twice as strong. So you
Yeah.
cut that rate in half. So we have weighed this out. This is about 4 1/4 ounces per plant. I'm assuming that I'm going to treat about 5 feet.
Okay.
Actually, or 10 feet. It's close. These are close to these critters.
What you got over there?
They're 4 feet
About
apart.
4. Okay.
4 feet apart. So I'm going to come on out here. The root system comes. This will treat 10 feet right here. So take that and let's see where 10 feet is. Further on out. Go further. Okay, that's good.
You good? You got it?
Let's just kind of lay this over to the side. So this is enough for 10 feet right here. So I'm just going to kind of lay that over to the side, and I'm going to try to make this go 10 feet.
Wow. Okay.
I'm going to try to put out about half of it. And then I want to put the other half out. Don't try to put it all out at once, because if you do, you will run out.
Okay. 10 feet. How about that?
Yeah. Because the root systems are already out here. They're already out here, because that's got you until after harvest. And then you need to do the same thing after harvest. Late June, you need to put about the same amount out after
Okay.
harvest.
Okay.
And that'll get the plants going for next year.
Okay. For next year.
Right. And then again, that's just routine with blackberries. March, you hit them with about 5.5 pounds of 888 per 100 foot of row.
Okay.
And then you do the same thing again after harvest. And that's just kind of a rule of thumb, general rule of thumb for blackberry production.
Then you'll be looking to get some good blackberries, huh?
Yeah, you're not going to get a lot this year, but on a trellis, what I would do on a trellis system is I would sink a couple of T-posts in the ground, and you might want to come on out pretty far and then get a panel, like a expanded wire panel, and bring it up, get as tall a T-post as you can get, and just
Go there.
right kind of alongside the plant, and then just kind of, you don't really have to do any tying, because
Just
they're
let it
gonna
hang there.
run, and you just
Right.
kind of lay them up there and they'll take off.
All right. Well, Mr. D, we appreciate that.
Okay,
All right. We'll see what happens.
good deal.
There are a number of gardening events going on in the next couple of weeks. Here are just a few that might interest you. All right, so I'm here with Mr. Bill. We're at the Memphis Botanic Garden, and we're going to prune some figs.
what's left of some figs.
What's left of some figs. All right.
We've already had a abnormally warm spring.
Yes, we have.
Before spring got here, in fact. And figs, which are a tender plant, had started to put out. Normally, they would not have produced any fresh leaves until at least May.
Wow.
And some of them in June. So we've had an unusual growth. We also had 4 days of cold weather, extremely cold for this time of year last week. And so on our fig trees, we have what only a few days ago was a nice green new growth as far as the fig is concerned. Now, we have two things here as far as taking care of the figs. If you prune too early, which we're not going to prune too early for this year just because of the give and take of the weather, these have died back, and at this time we don't know to what extent, because each one of these leaf nodes, which is just a little lump right on the side of the tree, is a potential for a bud. These budded out and then got hit with 34 degrees weather, and being a very tender plant, it just curled up and died on us and dried out in a few days. Now, some of the figs have not put out at all. Do not be concerned if yours doesn't. In fact, the one that hasn't put out yet may be in better shape than the one that did and then got frozen back. But there again, that's not for the homeowner to worry about, because even if we had to say this tree is not going to bear for the year and why are we even fooling with it, you can take a saw 4 or 5 inches off the ground, take the whole thing out, and before the season is over, if you treated it properly, it will be anywhere from 6 to 8 feet tall.
All right, Mr. Bill, we're going to let you have at it. We're going to let you start pruning this fig tree for us.
Well, first thing we need to look at on this tree, we want a good sturdy branch to support the bulk of the tree. When you look at this, it had at one time a single trunk. Now, from the old trunk dying out, the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, about 14 small ones down there. You don't want that. So you select, this is one of the sturdier ones. That's a sturdy one down at the base. But those others that are laying on the ground, that's what they're going to do when they mature. They get up here and run out like these little bunchy ones here. As they grow, the weight will get to them. They're down at the ground anyway. It'll pull it to the ground and pop the stump out.
I got you.
So you want to pick out 2 or 3, maybe 4, and take out all the immature ones around it. These leaf nodes right here are pointing all different directions. If you cut it in here where the leaf nodes are thick, you're going to get a burst of little limbs in there. Very desirable for a small tree. And you want limbs with leaf nodes for making fruit, not a long, spindly plant like this one is coming. All right, if you want to have figs to eat, but you don't have a huge amount of space, then you might want to come in here about head height and do your cutting. The problem is if you do your cutting too soon, as some of us had done, because I had to, I was shaping my tree for visual effect as well as bearing fruit. But by pruning it back early, this is a fairly hollow stem right here. And if you get a little moisture in there and then the frost with it, it'll just explode the limb on occasion if it's extreme. So we've got 6 leaders here. I would take 2 more out, but
Okay.
most gardeners do not prune as much as needed to be pruned. They're always afraid they're going to ruin the plant, whether it's a fig plant, any of the fruits that are clustered on there. You're doing yourself a disfavor if you don't thin them out. The ones over here at the Botanic Gardens, when we had an orchard here, we had a general rule of 5 inches apart on fruit.
Okay.
People get very upset when you tell them that, but you'll have more poundage of fruit if you properly pruned it than if you just let it stay there. Also, when you make a cut this severe, pick out which way you want the replacement limb to come. You've got a marker there already on the plant where the leaf node's going to come out. So that one, if cut off here, is going to go this direction.
Okay. Yeah.
And if you can get several leaf nodes in here on a cut like that, then you come up with a lot more fruiting, because this is going to throw a cluster of new growth.
Okay. Gotcha.
If you want to root you some plants from this, 5 neat leaf nodes from your trimming, at least 2 leaf nodes, I prefer 3, below soil level and 2 above, so that you get a place for the first green limbs to come out. But that's just the basic on it. That one doesn't need to be in here at all. It's running parallel to the ground, not upright.
Okay. There you go.
Okay, so,
So that comes out.
started coming around, and one more cut. And now we got to take that one out. Someone that needs a plant, you pick it up. There are not any roots on that one, so we can take the whole thing out. And that is basically the shape, a basic shape.
Basic shape. All right.
And it rounds out.
Mr. Bill, we appreciate that demonstration. As you can see, grass is not growing very well in this area. This area is very shady. When it rains, the water stands in this area, it's poorly drained. But guess what? Moss loves conditions like that. As you can see here, this moss is thriving. And the good thing about moss is this: you don't have to worry about pulling out a lawnmower. Every once in a while, leaves get on the moss, just blow the leaves off, and your moss stays perfectly green all throughout the season. So again, grass is not doing well here, but the moss is thriving. All right, this is our Q&A session. Mr. D, you ready?
I am.
All right, here's our first viewer email. Do you think this last frost killed my peach tree? It already had blooms on it, and this is from Phil out in Millington. So what do you think about that?
Well, no, it didn't kill the peach tree, but yes, it killed the blooms.
Okay.
And if it dropped below 28 degrees at your site, it killed the little fruit that had already formed. Probably. Now,
Okay.
if your fruit tree was a high chilling variety that was not in full bloom, if it was in 50% bloom or something like that, then it may very well have only done a pretty good job of thinning the fruit, because the blooms, the buds that had not bloomed yet, could tolerate those high temperatures. Now, typically a peach tree will put on about 90% more blooms than it needs to produce a good crop.
Wow.
So you can produce a good crop of peaches with about 10% of the blooms that that fruit tree is going to put on.
Okay.
Now, had he already pruned the tree? Because if he did a good job of pruning it, he had already taken off a bunch of those blooms and a bunch of the fruit buds.
Yeah.
But that really depends on the variety. If it was a lower chilling variety that was in full bloom and everything was already bloomed out or had just a little bit past bloom, then he's not going to lose the tree, but he lost his crop this year, probably.
Wow. Okay.
But if it's a higher chilling variety that required more chill hours, then it may not have been in full bloom, and it may have only done a pretty good job of thinning the fruit.
Interesting, interesting. So we were talking earlier, so 28 degrees you think is about?
28 degrees is a threshold temperature for killing the fruit.
For killing the fruit.
Killing the fruit. And that's the little bitty fruit that just forms, it's just after the blooms have dropped.
Okay, okay.
And so that little bitty fruit is there. Now, if you take an X-Acto knife, you can cut through either the bloom or that fruit, and if it's dark, the center is dark, it's gone. If it's clear, you're probably okay. If it's kind of a clear, translucent appearance to it, then you're okay.
Then you're all right. I never knew that. Okay. All right. Hope that helps you out.
Don't cut yourself.
Yeah, don't cut yourself. Right, exactly. All right, so there you have it, Mr. Phil. Interesting. Didn't know that. Okay. Here's our next viewer email. On both sides of my house, there's not much sunlight. In both places, the grass is thin and you can see dirt. What can I do in these areas? Is it even possible to make grass grow there? And this is from Glenda. What do you think about those pictures there, Mr. D?
I think the only way you're going to get grass to grow there is to cut some trees. Okay. And if you don't want to cut your trees, then that looks like a real good place for ground cover. Or shade-tolerant perennials or annual shade tolerant.
Yeah, and of course, you know, what jumps out in my mind, you could do Mundo grass, you could do hostas, Pachysandra maybe.
Right.
You know, those are real good ground covers. If you have a little bit more shade, ferns.
You don't have to mow it.
Yeah, don't have to mow it, don't have to worry about it whatsoever. And I guess we did see some wet spots. You think moss might be growing there eventually or something like that maybe?
Could be. You might need to do some soil amendments before you start planting these, especially perennials.
That's right. Perennials. That's right. Yeah, so soil testing.
Soil testing.
It's something you definitely have to do so we can see what that pH is. But yeah, I don't think grass is going to grow there.
I don't think so. Not unless you cut those trees, it's providing the shade.
All right, so there you have it, Miss Glenda. Hope that helps you out. All right, so here's our next viewer email. Oh, you're going to like this one. Is it too late to spot spray the weeds in my lawn with Roundup? And this is from Mr. Joe. So is it too late? And it's probably those winter weeds that have been out there, the henbit, the dead nettle, the bittercress. Is it too late at this point?
I don't think so. And I don't think it's ever, I don't think it's ever too late to spot spray a weed.
Okay, I got you.
Because if you spot spray a weed, that means that you are spraying just that weed that you want to kill.
Okay, I see where you go.
Now, it's too late to broadcast spray, to do a broadcast Roundup application on your lawn, I think, because the Bermuda grass, if you have a Bermuda grass lawn, your Bermuda grass is already broken dormancy enough that you can damage your Bermuda grass. Sure. So it's too late to do a broadcast Roundup application. But as far as spot spraying, you know, as much as you can tolerate, as much damage as you can tolerate. If you spot spray with a Roundup, you'll kill a spot that you sprayed. But if you kill the weed and then your Bermuda grass fills in there over time, then you're okay. So I'm not sure it's ever too late to spot spray. Now the winter weeds are going to go away anyway.
Right.
They're going to go away anyway. So I probably wouldn't be as worried about the winter weeds. I mean, you know, we're in spring now.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be as worried about the winter weeds as I would the summer ones that are coming on.
No, those winter weeds for the most part have already dropped their seeds.
Right. They've already done their damage.
They've done the damage. Now, what about using some of these wipe techniques? You know, I've told people in the past you can use a little piece of sponge. I used to get a little, at home, I get a little cup out, have a little fine paintbrush, just dip it in the concentrate and just wipe, you know, just wipe it on the leaves, and it works.
One thing I've seen done is put a rubber glove on, and then a cotton glove over it, and
just that, yeah.
And that is really a wipe.
Okay.
Pretty good job.
So all of those work. All right. So yeah, Mr. Joe, spot spray is okay.
Spot spray is okay.
Spot spray is okay. All right, Mr. D, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter The email address is familyplot@wkno.org, and the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. To get more information on blackberries or pruning figs or anything else we talked about today, just go to familyplotgarden.com. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris Cooper. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by Good Winds Landscape and Garden Center in Germantown since 1943 and continuing to offer its plants for successful gardening with 7 greenhouses and 3 acres of plants, plus comprehensive landscape services. International Paper Foundation, the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.